you need to bring your own test pen. I cannot bring, what do you call that? Last time I used to provide space, but I came to know that a lot of problems. Sometimes students don't, what do you call that? They find it not enough space. They still need test pen sometimes. Sometimes they cancel the answers because they use pen straight away, cancel it off, and then they need more paper. But usually when I provide paper, it will be printed, the space will be printed on the paper. So I don't bring extra paper. Imagine I have so big group, 160 students. Very difficult for me to prepare paper. Star don't provide. Okay? Star don't provide test pen. Only for final exam. So very difficult. So that's why I make it very easy. I just print the question. So I can save time. 160 copies I need to print myself. Now no assistant given. So you guys prepare the test pen. Okay? Okay. After this I will share the rules. Okay? You need to follow the rules. When I come in, I don't want any issue. I will start with the test straight away. Okay? I will be following the rules very strictly. Okay? So I'll tell you the rules. I will prepare the slides. You can see, right? Okay. Okay. So you can start. This one, right? Not too dark, right? I better use my little more voice. So, class diagram, any issue? Class diagram, how many types of relationship? What are the types of relationship you have to be clear with? If you try all the tutorial questions, you have example of questions for all type of relationship. So I'm very sure you won't have any issues. Make sure your tutor discuss all these questions and you get the answer verified by your tutor before you go for midterm. Make sure. Like my class, I have discussed. Okay, but I want to make sure all the other tutors also cover before you go for midterm. Okay? Okay, now, what are the relationship? What are the types of relationship in class diagram you need to identify? In a class diagram. I try to recall a little before I go for next topic. Anyone? Again, type of relationship or classes. Among the classes, what kind of relationship or what type of relationship exists? Anyone? Aggregation. Very good. Okay, got three types of association. Three types of association. If just association, just a link with multiplicity, we call it as association. If you want to show more specific, what happened to the class when one of the class removed, one of the class destroyed, what happened to the other class? That is aggregation or composition. Aggregation means when one class A destroyed, when you have aggregation of this class, okay, nothing happened to the class. Nothing happened to the aggregation class, still can exist. But if composition, one class, composition of the other class, okay, when this class removed, destroyed, the composition also will be destroyed together. The composition classes will be destroyed together. So, association, aggregation, composition. You can ask me, please, for aggregation, composition, then why normal association? If you find this two class, you don't have to talk about what happened to the other class, like not relevant. Then go for normal association. Always go for normal association when it's not needed. Understand? So usually in one class diagram, you will see a lot of association compared to aggregation and composition. The common one is normal association. Fourth one, generalization. What is generalization? I ask, I answer. What happened? Then today also I dragged the lecture, you all cannot go back on time. Today I am seriously planning to dismiss you on time. Because last week I delayed a lot of problem. Students went late for the other class, next class. So today I am planning to be disciplined, dismiss you early. But then, you guys are not cooperating. What's the other class? What is generalization? You have learned in object-oriented programming. I have taught you last week. You still don't remember? What is generalization? Inheritance. When you have parent and super and sub, superclass, subclass, just like in Java programming example. Superclass, subclass, parent class, child class. What is the other one? Yeah, base class, derived class. All these terms can be used. Okay, now we go for our terms, we always use parent child. Okay, so what happened? All the attributes and methods belongs to parents, inherited to the child. So child will get all the method and attributes belongs to the parent. So child can have additional attribute and method, but all the parent properties will be inherited. So we don't have to write the code again for the child class. Simplification. Okay? Object-oriented programming, simplification. What is the Java, what do you call that, keyword to inherit from a class? Yeah, extends. OB. Extends. Okay? Okay, now continue. Okay, now I think I can brief you about the, what do you call that, midterm test. Okay? Okay, midterm test, I will remind again towards the end. Okay, midterm test, you have to bring your own test pad. Okay? How many test pad? Okay, like I've explained, theory, okay, got about part 1, 3 questions. Then for part 2, you got 2 questions. I mean 2 modeling, not 2 questions, but 2 models. Why 2 models? Okay, but I cannot promise 2 questions. You know why? If use case diagram, use case question, use case diagram always come with description table. Use case diagram always come with description table. So already 2 questions. And then if another model, then going to be 3. You understand or not? And I have told you before, use case is confirm. Confirm will be tested. Okay? So use case always come with use case description table. So you remain, just imagine you need to draw a model, you need to draw a table, then you need to come up with another model. Okay? So how much of space you need? So bring more papers. Bring more papers. Okay? Test pad. Your test pad must be blank. Not even, don't write even name. Come and write here. Must be blank. Number 2. The moment you come, do you know capacity of this hall? Anyone knows the capacity of this hall? How many seats are there? Any class rep aware of this? Program rep? Do you know how many seats are there? No, not sure. But I want you to not to sit next to each other. Try to avoid. Okay, I don't want you to sit next to each other. At least one seat must be blank. That's why I'm not sure whether it's sufficient or not. But try to sit with one seat in the middle. No sitting next to each other. Okay, I'm very strict when conducting an exam, I better tell you. Okay? You cannot talk. You are not allowed to talk while you are writing your answers. Meaning once you receive the paper, test pad, question paper, you are not allowed to talk. You are not allowed to talk anymore. If I catch anyone talking, I will just take the paper and put 0 for both parties. To be fair and square. No talking. If you want to borrow anything, just put up your hand. Just let me know that you're going to borrow. Otherwise, don't talk. No talking. Okay, no talking throughout the test. No talking just throughout the test. Okay? Number 3. Do not turn left and right. Not allowed. No turning. When you get your paper, just concentrate on your paper. You have only 1 hour. Remember, only 1 hour. And this test, right? Usually midterm test. You cannot promise that your friend's answers are correct, because this is logical. So don't simply try to copy each other. No point. Okay. So again, if I catch anyone talking, if I catch anyone turning left or right without a reason, if I catch anyone copying, straight away 0 for both parties, whoever involved. Okay? You know what? I have to control or manage this big crowd, so I have to come up with such rules. Very strictly. Okay? So remember, on the day when you come, don't sit too close. Try to have a space automatically. Don't waste your time. Okay? Number 2, all the bags, whatever belongings must be on the floor, under your chair. Must be on the floor, no on the lap, no on the table. Only the stationaries you need. Models, can you use pencil? Models. Can, but not safe lah. Not safe. You know why? After a few days or few weeks or few months, it will go off. Very high chance to go off. So you better use all the labels, all the writing, all the labels, use pen. Drawing can use pencil, no problem. For the drawing can use pencil, but all the writing, okay, must use pen. All the label, you know, like use case, you label, register, account, use pen. Okay? Drawing can use pencil, I don't mind. Because at least you can erase and modify your answer. Okay, what else? Test pad, at least a few pieces, like 3 or 4. Okay? Because I'm not sure your handwriting, how much of space you need. So bring sufficient test pad on the day. I will come out with a post a few days before your test to remind you. Okay? Can? But I cannot remind through class prep because this time 9 class prep. Too many. So I just post it in the classroom. Okay? If 5, 6, I still remind one by one. But 9 are too many. So I will just post it in the classroom. Okay? Few days before. I try to remind a few times. Okay? Class prep can help to remind all your students because I worried they might forget. So please remind them. Okay? To bring test back. Anything else? Any other question about midterm test? You may ask me. Before I end the class today, if you have any question, please ask. Okay? What do you call that? I believe I have given you sufficient information about the midterm test for you to do revision. Okay? Okay, now continue with the last diagram or the last type of modeling. Very important. Also important. Okay? Okay. Class diagram done. Slide number 70 something. It's not done. Do you remember when to use unary, binary, ternary?
Wonderful.
Unary when? Unary? Can anyone explain it just in the simplest form what or when to use unary? Unary relationship, this one. Unary, this one. When to use unary? You have tried this in your database as well. When you're designing your database, I remember we have one example of this. Like manager and employee, 2 different classes. That is table, this one class. You have 2 different classes, but you don't want to create 2 different classes. You don't want to write so much of code. So what you do, you just create one class called employee. Your employee also use the same class, your manager also use the same class. So when you want to explain like manager is managing employee. So manager from this class, managing employee from this class as well. So self-refer. So that's why self-reference is considered as unary. Okay, relate to self again. So that is unary. Okay, so binary is very common. Ternary also you guys will have when you do assignment very complicated. One class linked to so many. Okay, so that's common. Okay, next. So today we're going to start with behavioral model. Okay, this is the final model I will cover under this chapter. The other models will be another topic. Okay, so whatever not in this lecture, not going to come out in midterm. Midterm only the models covered in this lecture. Okay, so you can guess what will be the other models. Okay, you can guess. Okay, okay, behavioral model. So obvious behavior. Show the behavior. Okay, so one important model that you will be learning under this model is state chart, and the other one is sequence. Sequence covered in chapter 5. State chart will be in this chapter. Why sequence are brought to chapter 5? Can anyone guess? Sequence diagram need more details. Now you are in the second phase. Which phase? Second phase. First one elicitation, right? Second one is analysis. So at the analysis stage, do you know the specific details? Do you know the specification at second phase? You still remember the requirement engineering or not? No, yes, yes, no. Requirement engineering, 4, right. So this is elicitation. Okay, this is analysis or evaluation. So now we are here. Okay, at this stage, we are not aware of specific details of the requirement. So that's why you can't draw the sequence diagram yet. Okay, so where Okay, now, so state chart diagram will be our focus for the remaining, slides. Okay, so what is the state chart diagram? It shows the behavior of the object. Behavior of object. Okay, you know what is class, difference between class and object? Just now I saw some students came and checked. Maybe my voice too loud. Okay, can anyone tell me what's the difference between class and object? If you can understand the difference between class and object clearly, you can understand this diagram very easily. Can anyone tell me what's the difference between class and object? And for your information, assignment students always make the most mistake in this diagram. Use case, usually student can do very well. Class diagram, students can do well. But always, state chart diagram, even though we explain clearly myself, show them what can do, what can't do and don't, they still make mistake. Come to assignment, still got mistake. Final exam, got mistake. So can you tell me, what's the difference between object and class? I remember I asked the other day also, right? What's the difference between class and object? Class, a program that you create. Okay, a program that you create. For example, a chair, a table. Okay, no need to talk about this example. Try to talk about example related to our system. Student, staff, booking. Every single object, okay? For example, what else? Facility, okay? Menu, product, okay? All these are objects, correct or not? So for every object, we can create one class, one program, one class to handle the object, one program to handle the object. So we don't call it as object, we call it as class, because the program that you create is actually a class, original. But then, when you implement the system, when you execute the system, every time, let's say student, you create one student class to handle the student. What handle student? Register the student, update the student details, deactivate the student account, reset password. So all the methods and attributes like first name, last name, what email or whatever about the student. To handle this, you create one student class. Now, when you implement the system, so many students will be registering, correct or not? So they will be using the student class, correct or not? So every student that create an account will be considered as objects. So use only one class, but thousands of students can use that class to create their profile, reset password, update profile, use that one class. So that's actually object-oriented programming. Last time different. It works in different way. Object-oriented is really simplification of programming word. Okay? Since object-oriented become popular, programmer's job become lesser. Okay? You go and check you can write a simple program in C language to see the difference clearly. C language and C++. To be very obvious, C language and Java. Java is a good object-oriented example. So you try to create a simple program in C, the same program in Java. You can just use online compiler and do. You will see how many lines of code can be saved. A lot. So that's the good part of object-oriented. Okay? Why? Because the structure, the way it works, different. Okay? So use just one class. You create just one class. But thousands of objects can be created. Every time one object is initiated, you use back the same class to initiate. So object is created. Okay? So that's about class and object. So actually both also refer to the same thing. Class is like template. Object are copies. You get what I mean, right? Okay? Like class is original copy of your book. You all make photocopy, right? That is objects. Photocopy. Okay? Okay, now anything important here? How to identify? Okay, how to identify states? States are conditions that we need to report to the management or customer. Draw one state chart for one entity class. Oh, this is very, very important. One class or one object. Okay, one class or one object. Only one state chart diagram. You know what happened when I say, I tell my students, assignment, draw one state chart student for one student. So how? You got one module, right? One module. In your module, you got so many classes. I'm very sure more than one classes. Choose one class. Choose one class to draw state chart diagram. So you should draw one diagram only to show one class. But you know what happened at the end when they present? Got booking class, got payment class, got all classes in one diagram, like Roja. Wrong, straight away wrong. Your marks will drop for individual tasks. You understand or not? So one class, one object. Focus only on one object. Student means you only show the student class. You don't go and confuse with student and booking, student and payment, student and something else like feedback. No. Student means only student. One class, one diagram. You cannot have more than one class in one diagram. Out. Doesn't follow the rules. You understand or not? That's very first thing you need to know. Okay? Next. Okay. Relationship between the models. Which model do you draw first? Based on what I was teaching so far, what model or which model you draw first? Class diagram, use case diagram, state chart diagram. Later you will learn sequence diagram. Okay, 4 diagrams. Which one do we draw first? Which one you have to draw first? Assignment, which one you need to draw first? Assignment follow the rules. So which one follow first? Or draw first? Usually we'll have to draw the class diagram. Structure of the system. Show the structure. So always start with class diagram. Any project, we start with class diagram. After class diagram is something different from use case. Use case show the functions and the user interaction. User interaction and function. Class diagram show the structure of the system. Totally two different area. So you can either draw the use case diagram first or class diagram first. They got nothing to do with each other. Okay? So class diagram first or use case diagram first. You have your class diagram, right? How many classes are there? Okay, let's say you have 25 classes. So what's the meaning now? Every class, you can come up with one state chart diagram by logic. Every class in your class diagram, you can come up with one state chart diagram. But don't worry, short stems are more. We don't bother you so much. We don't ask you to draw 25 state chart diagram. Surely won't have enough time. So we ask every student got your own module, right? Pick one main class in your module, draw one diagram. Enough. So at least 4 members, 4 diagrams. 5 members, 5 diagrams. You get what I mean? Assignment, you have so many classes in your own module. You just pick one most important class and show the state chart to show that you understand. You understand or not? So by right, if you have 25 classes, you can draw 25 state chart. You get what I mean? Okay, next. What about sequence diagram? To draw the sequence diagram, you still need class diagram because you need to know what are the classes there and how they link to each other. So for the sequence diagram, you need class diagram and you need to show the interaction between the user. You need the use case diagram. So for state chart diagram, only class diagram, use case can be a reference. But for the sequence diagram, you need both class diagram and use case. So remember, state chart and sequence you cannot draw first. You cannot draw first. You must prepare your class diagram and you must prepare your use case diagram. Then only can proceed with all the other diagrams. So this is the thing you need to know for your FYP. So FYP, if you need to do your design, make sure you draw your class diagram. Make sure you prepare your use case diagram. Then only can consider all the other diagrams. If you draw other diagram first, wrong. Cannot be. Clear? Okay? So that's the flow. Okay? So now proceed. So you see, use case diagram, class diagram. As I told you, this is sequence diagram. To draw the sequence diagram, you need the classes information, you need the interaction. So with this two help, you can draw the sequence diagram. So I can't draw sequence diagram directly without these two diagrams. And then I can also draw the state chart diagram by referring to the class diagram, by referring to the use case diagram, or can straight away refer to the sequence diagram. So sequence state or all the other diagrams, you must make you can refer back to class diagram or use case. So must draw the use case in class firstly. Okay? Clear? Okay, continue. Okay. Yeah. You have a few types of conditions for state chart diagram. Okay, now what is the meaning, you know? Okay, this is a chair. Okay, this is a chair. This is an object. To understand what is object, this is an object. Okay, can anyone tell me what are the status of objects? Possible status. Possible state or condition of, not condition, possible state of objects. So, this object we take as an example, chair, right? Chair. What are the possible state that you can tell me? Now, the condition is what? So, the status is what? Available. No one is sitting there. Good. No one is sitting there. So, the seat is available. Correct. One state is available. Now, let's say someone go and sit on. So, what happened to the seat now? What happened to the chair? Occupied. Very good word. Okay, occupied. Okay, another state. Another state. So, you see here, now the state changed from available to occupied. Okay, now tell me, is there any other possible state changes might happen for this chair? Any other? Available, occupied. Available, occupied. Okay, other than these two, any other possible changes? Oh, very difficult. For stand means I know where to stand. This one sometimes I think too close, sometimes too far. Very difficult. If not very big crowd or not very big space, I won't use mic. I rarely use mic. My voice loud enough. But if this big, I raise my voice, I will get sore throat very soon. Then cannot, no voice later. Happened before. Happened before for 3 weeks, no voice. Then you know how I was teaching? Signal. You ask your senior, I got to that. Oh, very funny. Okay, sometimes students couldn't control laugh. They laugh. But my condition very bad. I got no voice at all. Okay? Okay, now go back to the story. Other than occupied, available, can anyone come up with other state? Only these two? Reserve. Wow. Lecture, you all not even coming for my lecture. But there are students who reserve the seat. Wow. We are talking about lecture seat, not cinema booking. Okay? Cinema, yes. You all love to book. But I don't think for my lecture you all reserve the seat. Got anyone? Reserve, the first seat. Hey, I must sit here. I want to listen to Miss Anu. Got or not? I don't think so. Got or not? Oh, no, I've never seen. Got students sometimes are full attendance for my class. But reserve seat is like wow. But okay, acceptable. Okay? Occupied, available, reserved. Wow, nice. 3. Okay, one more. Missing.
Broken.
Someone's stealing. Missing. Something to do with what I was thinking. Okay. Yes. What was the condition? If something goes wrong with the seat, broken. So what's the condition? So what's the right word for the state? State, you must think of the best word so that you won't lose your marks. Missing or whatever condition, right? Something wrong already, under repair, like you said. So what can be the right word for that? Under maintenance, can, or out of service. You understand or not? Broken, or the check missing, or something wrong, maybe wet. All this you can just say out of service or under maintenance. Correct or not? See, 4 states. One object, 4 states. Exactly, this is what you're going to do for the state chart. This is what you're going to do for state chart. When you talk about one object, only think of states of one object. Don't suddenly you say, this chair is absent. Can or not? Absent. Hey God, you laugh now. Later you do. Your assignment, later you do. I'm very sure. You know why absent? You combine chair and student. Later you got states about student and chair in one diagram. Oh, we'll have later. For assignment, even though I explained so clearly, one object, one diagram. Only talk about the states of this object. If the state doesn't happen, there's no many states, don't worry. It's not your I don't check whether you add many or less or no. No marks given for that. So don't confuse yourself. Don't simply add the states. Like for chair can be absent or not? Chair can be absent or not? Student can be absent. Chair cannot be absent. So what happened here? You confuse between student and chair objects. So wrong. One object, only one. Okay? In one diagram. Okay? So only the states of that object. No other states. Clear? If you understand this, your state chart can be perfect. I can promise you that. Okay, now let's look at what are the things that change the state. Yeah. Just now, okay class, just now available, correct or not? Your friend said available. Then become, what? Become, okay, let's say reserved or become occupied. What make the state change from one state to another state? Another very important thing. What make one state change from, one object change from one state to another state? What make the object change from one state to another state? From available become occupied. From available become out of service. What make it change? Can it just change itself? No, right? Something is happening. Okay, something is taking place. Correct or not? That is here. What are the things make the state change? Okay, what are the things make state change? For three things. For three things. Either one. Condition can make state change from one to another. The student reserve logic. Every class sitting here. I accept your answer now. Okay? Okay, so no, just now I was asking for chair object, right? What are the possible states? So one friend said occupied, one friend said available, but the other one said reserve. Then I say no one reserve chair for my class. I've never seen. That's why I gave you as an example. Okay? Because you always sit in front and here, the same place. Okay. Then there are three things that can make state change from one to another. What are the three things? The first thing is condition. Any condition can make a state change from one to another. Number two, condition, a semi-permanent condition. Or third one, external events. External events also. External event means like a user go and book the chair, reserve the chair. Okay? Or someone go and sit on the chair. Make the state change from one to another. External event. You understand or not? Okay? So sometimes condition will make the state change from one to another. Sometimes events will make the state change from one to another. Like this. Okay? You see example, you will understand better. Now remember there are three things. Guard condition, events. Okay? Events also can make one state to change from one to another. The third one is actually action. Any kind of action performed by entities also can make one state change to another state. Okay? So now look at this one. Okay? How to draw the diagram. Basic notation. Notation got marks in the exam usually. So basic notation, I don't know why. I show so many diagrams, I already show you the shape. Later in midterm test use case, right? You can have cloud shape. You know cloud? I thought cloud shape takes more time. Ellipse easier. But for students, certain semester, I receive cloud shape for use case. I receive irregular shape for use case. Oh, I receive what? Square or rectangle. Shapes got marks, notation. You cannot draw the shape wrongly. If you draw the shapes wrongly, you will be losing the marks for notation. You understand or not? Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, for a state chart diagram, you must have start. Always start. Okay, because the state is going to change from one to another. So you must show the start. The start, where it is starting. 2 marks. Then on the direction, on the flow line, we call transition line. This line we call transition line. This one is state. This is state. This one also state. This one start. This one is end. State, state. Then you have transition line. Transition. Change from one to another. Is it too loud? I see students are opening and checking out. Okay. Is it too loud from the back? No, right. Just normal, right? No. Better tell me if I go so high. In the volume. Okay. So change from one state to another state. Okay. Change to another state, right? So what transition line? For transition line, then on the line must have the label. Exam must have the label. Okay. What label you can write? Event, condition, or action. Action example what? Like programming event, what is event? Click the button. Open the file. Double click. Drag the file. All these are events. You know, right? How you write the code? When user click the button, so you use action perform method, for example. Listen up. Okay? So this is actually, you need to put the name. If you don't know the exact name of the method, don't worry. You can just put the action. Action means click. User click. Or the button is click. Can write like that. No problem. Or else condition. For example, when the marks is more than 40 or student fail more than 5 subjects. That is condition. When the marks equals to 100 or when the pointer CGPA equals to 3.75 and above. Condition. Understand? Nothing on the line. No way for you to change one state to another state. Correct or not? Something happened, then only the state changed from one to another. So you must have something. Clear? All understand? So can one state have so many changes? So many different states? Yes, possible. Can. So we're going to look at an example later. Okay, so clear all this so far? Important, I'm so worried about your midterm next week. See, today attendance also quite bad. If they can study state chart diagram by themselves, I don't mind. Okay? Sometimes we don't really, when you read the slides, you don't really know that one state chart diagram is only for one object. Okay? Sometimes the additional things that I explained to you, not found in the lecture. I worried about that. Okay? So make sure you all know how to draw state chart diagram. Okay? Clear, right, so far? Okay, so you can put event name, you can put under the transition, you can put the event name, you can put the guard condition, or you can put the action expression. Like button is click, that is action. Okay? If the button name is save, for example, you write like this. This is event, this is event. You can write like save, event. Okay? Or save, button is click, action. Okay? Or condition. How to do condition? Action equals to save. Condition. Can you see the 3 different things? Okay? Action is save, button is click. Event is in programming the method name. Save, function name. C++ you call function. Java you call method. Right? So save is method name. Okay? So which is event? This one is action. This one is condition. You can write in any way. I am not going to be so strict on that. As long as you write the correct one, you get your marks. Clear? We continue. Okay. I guess I already explained this clearly, right? So can I go further? Can look at this one. What is the class name? Can anyone tell me for this diagram, what is the class name or object name? Class name, object name. How many class name you have for this diagram? Hello. What is the class name? Payment. Can I have more than one class here for one diagram? No. One class, one diagram. So payment class. So payment. First of all, how to do in exam? Identify all the states. any transaction or any purchase, what are the possible status of payment? What are the possible status of payment? Paid, unpaid, pending. Okay? Pending and unpaid, any difference? Pending, unpaid. Don't repeat. So pending or unpaid, use one word. Okay? So here got unpaid, fully paid. Wow, this one may be installment. So you can unpaid, fully paid or partially paid. You buy furniture, you can pay cash or credit card or whatever, fully paid, or you can buy installment and partially paid, or you don't pay first. Okay, so unpaid. So now what makes the status to change? Start. Okay, when you check the amount, the status is unpaid. So what do you do? If you pay fully, become fully paid. If you pay fully, become fully paid. If you pay partially, become partially paid. Okay, from partially paid, when you settle the whole amount one day, also can become fully paid. Once fully paid, your transaction will be ended because you already paid one, so they don't have to look at your transaction record anymore. So ended. This process ended. So go to the end. Either deleted, your transaction is deleted or moved to history, or ended. Then go to end. Otherwise, it will loop. It won't go to end. If something which continues again and again, it won't go to end. It will be like a loop cycle. But if already ended, settled, it will go to the end. Okay, now tell me how to label the state. How to label the state? Very important. Can I write haven't paid? Instead of unpaid, can I write haven't paid? Cannot. Haven't paid. Haven't paid sounds like function or sounds like state? You know what is state, right? State, my status. My status employed. Unemployed. So how we say the state? Always ed at the back. We try to make it one word if possible. Just one word. If cannot, then 2-3 words still okay. But always will have the ed at the back. Not past tense, but make it sounds like a state. So we don't write haven't paid. Haven't paid is function. Haven't paid. But we say unpaid. Okay? Pay fully. Pay fully is action. So sounds like function. We say fully paid. ID. ED at the back. What I mean is ED at the back. Can you see that? So make sure the state you use the correct word to write. Your words are not correct. What I do? If half mark, usually I close my eyes. I don't really minus mark. But sometimes sounds very weird. We cannot accept the state. You understand or not? Because it doesn't sound like state. It's not a state. Understand or not? So you must make it sound like a state. Okay? Clear? So the words are important. The words are important. The label. Okay? Clear? Okay, continue. I'm sorry. Next slide. Okay, look at this one. Okay? This one, what's the class name? What's the class name? Anyone? What's the class name? Grade rate. Okay? So when system starts, okay, the grade rate is pending. The grade rate is pending. Okay, initial state. Then what happened? When the rate start date less than or equals to current date, still haven't reached the time. Still haven't reached the time. Okay? Still active. The state become active. Okay? When the rate finish date equals to current date, less or equals to current date, okay? What happened? Lapsed. Okay, lapsed. Not valid anymore. Okay? After 1 year only the record will be deleted. You see, after lapsed, not directly deleted. They keep your transaction, they keep your record. They still keep your record. Because maybe for reference, you appeal or whatever. After 1 year, only they remove from the system. So, after 1 year, remove. Understand or not? Can you understand? So, every flow line, every transition line must have a label. Condition, event, or action. Clear? Clear? Okay. Next week, I'll see whether clear or not. When you submit your answers, I will see. Okay, state chart diagram. Okay, this is example. This is example. I give you 2 minutes to read. Now we're going to condition. If accepted, the order is placed, the order is shipped, the customer receives order, the order is closed. So how? See, this is the state chart. When the order is created, it's still pending, in process. When the order is submitted, ordered. Okay, then check for the credit authorization. So the processing, when approved, you see, when approved, it is placed. When it is not approved, it is denied. So waiting for the customer to make changes. Okay, otherwise you can just delete, remove. No order anymore. Either you can make changes and submit again, or you can just delete because you don't want to proceed. Okay, then once approved, order is placed, meaning confirmed. Okay, then shipped and finally received by the customer, and order is closed. Once received, we don't keep the transaction, so closed. Yeah, understand? This is quite direct. This is quite direct. Okay, sometimes can be like confusing for a lot of branches, a lot of conditions. Look at this one, patient's class. Patient. When a patient approach a hospital, what happened? If the condition is still okay, you can just collect the medicine and go back home. But if the condition is quite bad, they will ask to admit for the for checking, right? Checkup and all that. Okay. So here you can see, when entering the hospital, I am like quite wondering how entering can be detected by the system. When you enter the hospital, entering can detect or not? Is there any system detects that you are entering the hospital? No, right? So I find this one taken from book, not my answer. All taken from book. So I find this one like quite weird for the system. Unless you have very high-tech system where when you enter the hospital, it detects this patient is already in the hospital. Wow, not bad. Okay? So entering the hospital, once you check in, you submit all your report. Then fine. Checks in, admitted. This is logic. Or this is maybe queuing. When you go in, right? Okay, you submit your document to the counter. Usually you won't get the admission quickly. They will see whether got any available bed or not, what or not. So you will be waiting. Under waiting list you can put waiting list or queuing, which sounds better, in my opinion. Then only once they already find a bed or find a ward for you, then they will assign you and check in. You check in. So admitted. You understand or not? After they will go, when you are admitted, right, they will do checkup. Okay, diagnosis. When you are diagnosed healthy, you got no sickness, release. The right word is discharged. Hospital not released, discharged. Okay, but if let's say you are still admitted, they found something not okay, so they still put you under observation. Under observation while staying in the hospital is under observation. Okay, after you release in 2 weeks time, they delete your record. But normally healthcare they don't delete, they keep for future. Okay, follow up. They don't delete. Okay, so can you understand? Another example. Okay, continue. ATM. So, okay, when you approach the ATM, okay, start. When you approach the ATM, idle. Okay, when you slot in the card, active, you are using it. Active means someone is using. Active means, idle means no one is using. Active means someone is using. So, in card or whatever transaction, active. When you eject the card and, done with the transaction, go back to idle, waiting for the next customer. But sometimes, ATM, not sometimes, nowadays, most of the time, ATM go out of service. Then when they repair, fix it, become idle again. Understand? Got end or not for this? Why got no end? Why got no end? End means what's the meaning? Who can tell me? ATM machine, if I add the end, what's the meaning? I remove the ATM machine from the place. No more ATM, then only end. Understand or not? If the machine is still there, serve everyone, then is the idle, active or out of service? Correct or not? If the machine is no more there, end. Die already. Understand or not? The object died. Can you understand? So easy, right? But I don't know. Later you get confused one. Okay? So you need to be very careful when you are doing this state chart diagram. Okay? Okay, proceed. Okay, all the guidelines what I was teaching just now, I already explained. You can go through yourself. Okay? All this guideline I have highlighted to you just now. Okay? Okay, so now we're done with all the models. So another 10 slides, I will cover the remaining parts. Okay? Okay, first architectural and requirement allocation. Only one slide I think. Okay, this one, what's the meaning? What is allocation? Requirement allocation. You have like 100 requirement. Still very big for your assignment. Okay, let's say you have about 70 requirements. 70 requirements. How do you do the allocation? Anyone? Requirement allocation. You have 70 to 80 requirements. How do you do the allocation? First, what do? You identify all the main modules, right? You identify all the main modules, and then each module you try to allocate the requirement. This requirement goes to this module. This requirement goes to this module. So you allocate the requirement to do the grouping. All the related requirement will be grouped together. So that is called allocation. Another word is modularization. Modularization. Okay? For now, this is enough. This topic will be continued in chapter 5 again. Okay? Clear? Okay. Okay, so move on with the one thing you need to know. Do not allow assumptions about the system design to influence your analysis. Do not allow, because assumptions are not true. Assumptions is just assuming. Okay, do not allow the requirement analysis prejudge the system design. Okay, so these are the two things you need to bear in your mind when you want to do the allocation. Okay. Okay, now negotiation. Okay, who can tell me what is requirement negotiation? Also, you will learn later in further. Now, just need to understand the terms. What is requirement negotiation? Can anyone give me an example when do you have to go for requirement negotiation? This one comes under requirement evaluation. The second phase. You know the second phase? Elicitation, evaluation. So, it comes under the evaluation. So, now tell me, when to go for negotiation? One say, I want requirement to be like this. One stakeholder. Let's say key person. Another key person say, I want I want the requirement to be like this. Both also referring to the same function, but they have their own opinion. They have their own requirement. So how do you solve the problem now? How do you solve? I remember last time I was working on one project. We go all the way to client side, morning meeting to settle, finalize the requirement. I always, the meeting always end up, you know what? My client side project manager and the client IT manager and someone else, I forgot the role, end up arguing, no conclusion made at the end, go back. Then next day go, continue the same story again. And I at that time just newly joined software engineer. I'll be sitting there because I was working on the project. So I need to go. So I just say, then let them argue, listen to the argument, and then go back again. No conclusion. You know how many days it was dragged? How many days? Nearly 1 week. They don't want to come to an agreement. Keep arguing. This one explained, that one don't want to listen. Project manager was explaining the technical issue with what they want. Cannot be done. Better do this way. And these people are so fussy, they want in their own way. Okay, so again argue. No conclusion, no agreement. 1 week wasted. I go there, I did nothing. Just listen to these 2 people arguing, 3 people actually. Then come back. Oh, waste of time. And you get stressed when you listen to all this. When you see the technical people so clearly explained and your client don't want to listen, so stubborn, want what they want, then that's what happened. So negotiation now very important. What is negotiation? Yeah, try to negotiate with each other. You know, you negotiate the price, buyer and seller, can lah, 2 ringgit less, can. Okay? So that's how you negotiate your requirement. When 2 people say they have their own requirement, try to negotiate. You as the developer have to, find a way to negotiate. Okay? Among them to settle, come to agreement. That is negotiation. negotiation. Understand? You learn in detail later. In detail later. Okay? Okay, last topic. Can go back on. Okay, not bad. Today can go back on time. But wait, I want to remind you about the system. Okay. Yeah. Now this is the preparation done. Anything else I want to say? Yeah, last part. Okay, requirement analysis. Class, this one important also. Got one task, practical task for assignment. You need to do this. You need to choose which requirement analysis approach you're going to implement for your assignment. Again, requirement analysis approach. Which one you're going to implement? First of all, got two types. What are the two types? Can anyone tell me? When to decide or how to decide which diagram you're going to draw? Are you going to draw context diagram and DFD, or are you going to draw class diagram, use case diagram, UML, class diagram, use case diagram, state chart diagram, sequence diagram, one set. Context diagram, what DFD, and then all the decision table, okay, structured English, all this one set. How you decide? You want to go for this design or this design? How you decide? Tell me. Anyone here already started with the FYP? Anyone got used DFD for your assignment? Okay, no need to talk about FYP, still very early. Have you used DFD diagram to do your what assignment? Yes. What assignment? You have to see what is the environment of your project. What type of project are you doing? If you are into object oriented, how to know object oriented? Like my platform, my development tool, I'm using, let's say programming tool is Java tool. Let's say my language is Java programming. Very obvious, I have to go for object oriented analysis. If I use an old language before C++, or web programming, okay, then I can go for non-object oriented environment. So I can go for DFD or context diagram. You understand or not? So you have to see your project. If mobile application, how? Mobile application can be structured or not? Got two, structured, object oriented. Mobile application can be object oriented or structured. Obviously, no one taking mobile application. Pause. Next time. Okay. Mobile application use what language? What language? Oh, okay, you guys, Java actually. The main language is Java. So it's obviously object oriented. Okay, it is object oriented environment. So you have to go for object oriented analysis. You understand or not? So don't choose the wrong analysis. Later your whole assignment or project will go wrong. You understand or not? So if you want to go for structured. If you want to go for object oriented. Understand or not? Okay? So now let's look at this. Class. Structured. Can you see this? Structured or data flow based analysis or object oriented analysis. For this, you draw context diagram, you draw DFD diagram. For this, you need to draw all the UML diagrams. Clear? Okay? So now assignment, class assignment, got one task. You need to identify the type of analysis. Which one you want. Okay? You need to discuss why. Okay? Okay. So now, if you choose structured, class listen, if you use structured, how do you analyze the requirement? How do you analyze the requirement? Structured. Yes, you already learned before. Software engineering got learned viewpoint oriented analysis. Yes, more to stakeholder analysis. So that is actually for structured. If you choose structured, you need to come out with viewpoint oriented analysis. If your title same as your previous software engineering assignment, you can use back the answer. You understand or not? All these are related. So you can use back. Okay? But not say do again for this new title. Okay, you have to come out with viewpoint oriented analysis. Identify all the three types of viewpoints. What are they? In majority. Okay, in the majority interactive system, think of end users and receivers. So always we consider the end users as the receivers. They are external to the system. Viewpoint, okay, are natural way to structure requirement elicitation. So this one very related to elicitation. So quite easy to do. Advantage, easy to do. You know why? Very related to your earlier process, elicitation. Okay, easy to decide if some agent is or is not valid viewpoint. So easier for you to do basically. Okay, disadvantage. Yeah, very difficult task. Need time or effort to prepare. Not easy to identify the stakeholder then prepare the. So this one will be time consuming. Hard to identify the viewpoints and classify them. Yeah, sometimes like stakeholder also say, you can't really justify if this person is a stakeholder, valid stakeholder or not. Because sometimes there are so many positions, so many people involved in the project. So you don't know whether to include them or not. So that can be drawback. Okay? Okay, now, okay, method-based analysis. Okay? We already gone through this. Now object-oriented analysis. Okay, let's. Of course, object-oriented analysis widely used. You know why? Nowadays, do you think still people go for structure-based programming? Still got system with C language or Pascal, COBOL, all the old language? Got or not? They got, but they are not developing new system. They are maintaining the old system. You know, banks and insurance, when I was working, Manulife, still using COBOL. Can you believe? They're still using COBOL. In order to maintain their system, when they employ someone, they send 6 months to Philippines to train. Train in COBOL. Because no one can train in Malaysia, it says. COBOL very outdated. Now no one is using. But still they want to maintain their, because they find it very stable, the system. They want to maintain instead of developing a new system or replacing it. So they employ people with good programming skill, then they give 6 months training with allowance, then they employ. See? Okay? So that kind of that kind of system is like this. Okay, structured based. So now object oriented, C++, Java, C#, all these are object oriented. Okay? So now let's look at object oriented analysis. For all this what terms theory from the books you can study yourself. Okay? It's a method of analysis that examines requirement from the perspective of classes and objects. Okay? So quickly go to the analysis. Okay, now tell me, based on my teaching, based on what I was teaching for past 3 weeks, in 3 classes, can you tell me how you analyze the objects? What are the steps? Can you tell me? If you remember, that's the answer actually. Anyone? What is the first thing you do? What is the first thing you do? Those who just came in or came in late, sign your attendance. 257177. 257177. Sign your attendance. Okay, now go back to the story. How do you analyze object? First thing for the system, you know the project title. What do you do the first thing? How to start with the object-oriented analysis? How to come up with the first diagram? How? That's the meaning. Okay, object-oriented analysis. How do you identify the objects? How do you start? Obviously, you need to analyze the objects and data. You need to know what are the objects in my system. What are the data involved in my system? So the first step is identifying the objects. For example, when I say intranet, okay, intranet is to be used by students and lecturers. So first object already mentioned just now, students, lecturers, attendance, exam. So you identify each and every object. By identifying all the objects, you can also identify the data. Okay, so after you identify these two, what do you do next? Okay, identify the properties for each object. I told you, right, object is similar to class. So one class, what are the attributes? One class, what are the methods? You need to repeat this for every object that you identify. Obviously, you cannot identify all the objects correctly in the first identification or first analysis. You will identify the most, okay, objects, but slowly you will add on. You will add on when you find out that some objects are missing. You understand or not? So no one super smart to identify all the objects correctly at the first place. Okay? So slowly we will modify. You identify each class the relationship between the objects. Okay. After that, you analyze the relationship. Ready? Analyze the interaction between the objects and the user. Use case. First is class diagram. Then the use case. Now try to identify all the external entities who use the system or other system or other hardware. How they interact with the system. So you analyze the interaction. After that, you identify the states, the behavior. Study the behavior. The last one is behavior. So first, identify the object. Every object, you identify the properties and what methods. Okay. Number 2, the relationship between each object with another. Okay. All the relationships among the objects. Then, slowly, interaction of the external entities with the system. How external entities interact with the system. Then, lastly, for each object, you study the behavior. So this is object-oriented analysis. So by the end, you will come up with 4 diagrams. First, class diagram. Number 2, use case diagram. Number 3 is behavior. So state sequence diagram, and lastly state chart diagram. Understand? So now assignment, choose one. Structured based or object-oriented. Choose one. Okay? Then your tutor will explain further. Okay, so object-oriented analysis. Okay, maybe you can ask me, Miss, how to identify the objects in the first place? How do you identify objects for your project? How do you identify all the objects for your project? Have you tried identifying the objects for your programming assignment before? How do you identify the objects for your programming assignment last time? Anyone? How? These are the techniques. Okay? You can use grammatical analysis. Okay? Like just now when I say intranet to be used by student and lecturer, so automatically student, a noun, become object. Lecturer, object. So identify all the noun in my project description. So I can find out most of the objects. Okay? One way. Number 2, tangible entities, things. Things are that that tangible. So that is also considered another way. Or you can identify the behavior approach. Understand overall behavior of the system, functions, how people interact. So like scenario example. So understand the behavior, you can also identify all the objects. You can also use scenario based analysis. Come up with the scenario and try to identify the objects from the scenario. Okay? Then there are some other techniques. Okay, you can find out there are more than that. Okay, you can identify the objects using a few techniques. Okay? Okay, now structured data flow method. Okay, what are the steps? Analyze the processes and data. You see different. For us, object oriented, identify the objects and data. For the structured, identify the process and data. Assume that you are drawing DFT. Same. Okay, you have to identify the process and data. Then external entities and the boundary to draw the context diagram. Then you have to identify all the sub-processes. Break down the system into sub-processes. Okay, and then you need to see what is the input and output for each process. Okay, then identify the data store, what database stuff, basically database or file involved. Then you try to draw the diagrams for structured base. So got 2, structured based, object oriented, analysis based. So choose one for assignment. Choose only one. Obviously, all of you will be going for object-oriented analysis. Very rarely we go for structure-based. You know why? The environment is always, nowadays projects environment, object-oriented. So, object-oriented. Okay? Clear? Any question? I think done, huh? Yeah, done. Any question? Okay, midterm test class. For the midterm test, only 1 hour. Do not come late next Friday. If you come late, I'm very sure you won't have enough time. Even now, if you come on time also, time will be a constraint. Draw 2 diagrams within 1 hour, not easy. With some theory questions. So you need to be on time. But 1 hour is just nice for the diagram. We follow the final exam format. So 1 hour for that question, okay? Then requirement. I'm not sure. Your handwriting, okay? How quick you draw. So bring as many as possible so that you won't have an issue. Bring your stationaries, class. Bring your stationaries. Your pen